All right, we are live. Good, good. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Together in Style Live. On my little opening slide here in our journey today, it says Tech Tuesday. That's because yesterday I had an epic fail when it came to audio. I tried to really make this happen yesterday, but there were some looping issues going on with the laptop, and it just kind of didn't work to my benefit. So I thought I'd bring it back today and just get back on the horse. And you know, this live streaming thing's new to me. I think this is my 4th live stream, and so it takes a little getting used to, not for the faint of heart, but pretty excited to be able to do it and to share with you guys along the way about what we're up to and some of the technology, and we're trying to piece together all sorts of different segments. So I appreciate you joining me here on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about wedding photography specifically, but also about the Lumix GH5, the Profoto B1, and how they marry together so beautifully for weddings and events. I know that this is kind of becoming my go-to favorite new still photography camera. It gets a lot of praise, to say the least, when it comes to video and motion picture, because the specs in this thing are just outrageous for that purpose, but it's really a remarkable stills camera as well. And so I thought we'd get into talking about that and what it's all about. So I am a wedding expert. I've been photographing weddings now for 20 plus years. And in that time, when you've got as much experience as I do, you realize that I'm going through the same thing with my couples along the way, which is what makes you a wedding expert, right? We experience the excitement leading up to the wedding day, the highs, the lows, all the challenges that they go through, and we go through them right alongside them. And even, as a wedding photographer, I find that couples come back to us to produce albums and prints, and that's a little different than any other wedding professional out there. And because of that, they share the dish. They tell us what they would keep, what they would change, and kind of give us the scoop on all that went down. So it's kind of unique to be the wedding expert from that perspective. But I think, when you hire an experienced wedding photographer, you get somebody at your wedding who's really got the ability to give you great advice and guide you along the way. So needless to say, I've got a lot of expert tips for couples, but today my focus is going to be talking about professional photography, and as it relates to the modern state of professional photography and imaging, which brings us to the Lumix GH5. Now, I've had a darkroom in the house from the time I was about 7 years old. And when you grow up in the photography field that way, you tend to have an affinity for all the favorite cameras you've had throughout your career. I think back today to the film days and having my, Hasselblad 500 CMs, and I can still hear the sound of that shutter right here in my heart. And, it's just really a unique thing. And same thing throughout the DSLR revolution, all the motor drives we've been through, all cameras have that sound to them, and that's really special. But what I wanted to mention today is technology is really giving us the ability and giving us options in terms of ways to think about sacred moments or historical moments when it comes to capturing imagery. And I think I would argue today that since we have new technologies at our fingertips, it's time that we as professionals start thinking thoughtfully about those sacred moments, about those historical moments, and use good judgment when it comes to wedding photography. But it doesn't just relate to that, it even relates out to what we see on the news every day. And I kind of pulled up a slide here that we're all used to seeing. It's kind of funny, but I'm going to drop here, and we're going to drop into the White House here. And the first thing the announcer says is, let's hear what they have to say.
Let's listen into what we heard. Well, I just had the opportunity to have an excellent conversation with President-elect Trump. It was wide-ranging. We talked about some of the organizational.
And now, sadly, the point that I'm making is we can't hear what they have to say. We're just overwhelmed and drowned out by the sound of camera shutters, right? And the same thing can be held true when it comes to wedding photography as well. So the Lumix GH5 introduces something unique. It's got a silent shutter option. And I think since we can think creatively about that and think about that for our clients, it's time to start doing so. Now, it's not the first camera to have a silent shutter option. I know the Lumix GH4 did, and some of the other cameras in the Lumix lineup as well. But I have found that it really, going into silent mode during certain moments, during the getting ready moments, for instance, during the ceremony, it's really a good thing to do. It's good taste to be able to move in that direction. And I think shutters are fine when a photographer is very thoughtful and they're composing, taking a photograph, composing, taking a photograph. But when photographers go into it like they're holding an automatic weapon, it's just a whole different story. Now, to tell you a little story beyond that, as a professional that uses Lumix cameras, I'm doing a lot of filmmaking these days. So I find that sometimes couples will hire me for photography, other times they'll hire me for video. And so I get to work with other photographers a lot of times. And I was at a recent wedding out of state, and during the getting ready moments, the bride's father was saying these beautiful words to the bride, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be great on camera. And then suddenly, there's 3 photographers in the room, all firing their cameras, and it sounds like, they're just out to kill. So it's just, I think in these points in times, I think it's time that we also step up as photographers to, make sure that everybody in the industry can do their job as best as can be, and the silent shutter is just going to make the videos that much better on the other end. So, I don't know, technology has evolved. We don't have to be obnoxious. We can use it to our benefit and have fun with it at the same time. So, but let's get into this camera real quick and talk just briefly about it. Here's what's interesting. The Lumix GH5 is 20 megapixels, plenty of resolution for just about anything we want to do. 12 frames per second shooting raw, so blazing fast to say the least. It's a micro Four Thirds sensor rather than a full frame sensor. What I love about that is the size of the lenses. On a full frame lens, this would be equivalent to a 50 millimeter. It's 25 millimeter on micro Four Thirds. So the math is you double the size of your lens when you think in micro Four Thirds versus full frame. And what I love about that is this is a full frame DSLR lens. It's pretty heavy, pretty big. This is the equivalent for micro Four Thirds. So when I'm doing a 15-hour wedding, I love that I can have all the lenses at my disposal in my camera bag and everything ready to go. So to me, that's important, and I like to have that feature. So let's go beyond that. The autofocus system in this camera is really unique as well. It's 225 points. I can actually utilize the touch screen on the back, and a lot of times I'll put my eye to it and I'll just kind of move around and find that point with my thumb. That's a really good way to handle the situation. Other times there's a toggle switch on the back that's new to the Lumix lineup. You can pick your focus point that way as well. But what I really love is that there's face detection built in as well. And when I'm out in the real world, photographing things, especially portraits, a lot of times I want to do kind of that offset portrait and have the subject not in the center of the frame. Well, when I use face detection, it just finds their face. So it just saves me the energy and thinking. I can focus on the moment more. And I love that about it. So the other thing Lumix got right in this particular camera model is that there's a dual card slot. So we are backing up our films or our videos as we shoot, and I think that that is quite remarkable. That's a good thing. So they really got it right there. Wi-Fi is interesting too, because a lot of times if I'm shooting, say, a celebrity wedding, for instance, and I need to get images out to the press, it'd be nice to be able to connect via Wi-Fi, send something via the phone just for a placeholder image on a website or something like that. This connects not only via Wi-Fi, but it also connects to your camera via Bluetooth. And what that means is that it's always on. So as soon as I fire up my camera, it's already connecting to my camera. If I'm a street photographer especially, I can be out photographing anything I want and then be able to pull the images from the phone without having to scan barcodes and do all those other things. They really got the Wi-Fi right, and I think that that's an impressive new modern camera feature. And lastly, on the feature front is the flip out screen. So I love the flip out screen here because I can get those high angles, just tilt it down. I can even choose my focal point because it's touch screen, or again, I can get a low angle. And I find myself really shooting this way more often than not because it's so easy to do it. So flip out screen I absolutely love about this camera. And before we get into some imagery, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of a celebrity wedding that we recently photographed. You'll see some videos of us behind the scenes, and I'll kind of explain what's going on. But I want to bring up 5-axis image stabilization, which is one of the modern features that's just really remarkable on the Lumix GH5. It's not just 5-axis in the camera, but it's dual because it also works in conjunction with the with the lenses that are optically stabilized, and so it's in conjunction. So you just are able to handhold that much better than with one or the other. And I love that because it means that when I'm working with extreme long lenses, like say a 100 to 300 f3.5, 5.6, I'm able to handhold it with grace and have no issues with it. And in ceremonies, which I'll show you in a moment, I can work from the very far end of a cathedral and capture close-ups. So it allows me to be less obtrusive during a wedding, and I love that about it. And even close-ups from far distances on a dance floor, because we're using off-camera strobe, that makes working with long lenses in the reception a possibility as well. So really having that solution with 5-axis stabilization, it means that brides coming down the aisle, I know I'm always a little nervous even after 20 years of doing this, takes all the little shakes and kind of dampens things out and allows us to do more with less. So let me jump behind the scenes here. I'm going to go over the laptop and just kind of show you. You can see me putting a 100 to 300 f3.5, 5.6 Lumix lens on my camera and just kind of getting my exposure together. But now you'll see just how far away I am from this couple. And I'm able to zoom in and really capture their expressions and their love. And I love that I can see just kind of the spark in their eye right on their faces. So I really enjoy this, and it's not because of extreme ISO. I mean, I know a lot of people love full frame because of extreme ISO, but it's because of the 5-axis stabilization that I'm able to do this. So I don't really worry about ISO in these moments. A little further here, and even when they turn to one another during their vows, getting those expressions in close, it is what I absolutely adore about working with Micro Four Thirds on the GH5. So let's talk about control over the quality of our imagery as well. I know I want to deliver photographs that are from the very first photograph of the day to the very last photograph of the day. From cover to cover in the wedding album, I want quality control. I want to be able to produce imagery that's beautiful from cover to cover. So therefore, I don't want to leave anything to chance, right? And that's really why I use off-camera flash. It allows me to get predictable results. It allows me to get natural skin tones. And rarely in a wedding reception are we given the ability to have beautiful skin tones because we're working against so many different things. DJs will often bring in lighting. Maybe there's blue light on the dance floor, turns everybody into Smurfs. Or I know a lot of party planners love that amber color gel. That's fantastic, except if you're going to be a natural light photographer, that amber gel is going to make everybody look just too orange, kind of jaundice. It's really hard to pull that color out of camera files. And so off-camera flash allows us to control all of those situations so beautifully and easily. Secondarily, on-camera flash to me is kind of boring. For instance, Uncle Joe's got an on-camera flash. Everybody with point and shoots have on-camera flash. All the cell phones out there have on-camera flash. So by changing the direction of light, it really allows us to have control over the direction, the dimension, the texture. And so even outdoors during portrait sessions, I'll work with off-camera flash just to give more definition because it creates highlight and shadow when it comes from a direction. And with white dresses, a lot of times it's hard to have that definition of the folds in the dress or the spark in the eye. Even outdoors, off-camera flash is great because it fills in those kind of raccoon eye sockets there and gives a spark in the eye, a catch light. And when somebody smiles and you have a catch light in the eye, it turns it from, oh, there's a smile to they're smiling through their eyes. And we all know that the eyes are the window to the soul. So it really helps in that regard as well. Now, it gives us the ability at receptions to be less obtrusive, and I think that's most important. It allows me to capture better expressions, real moments, and I think ultimately that's what couples are seeking. So I want to introduce a flash system from Profoto called the B1. I've been using this for a number of years now. It is battery powered. This little battery pops off, and I find on a full charge I can shoot a 10-hour wedding. Front to back without any issues because I'm not really firing this at full power most of the time. I'm just using little flashes, little accents, maybe half power during the reception. Of course, you can have multiple batteries, but I haven't really had a need to. And then I also want to mention that there is a reflector built into this system, and it's a beautiful reflector. It's very wide in the light that it casts, but again, perfect for portraits outdoors. You can use it in receptions creatively, and I'm about to show you how we use it creatively in receptions. Let me jump back over to the laptop. So check out, this is what we faced when we stepped inside this ballroom in Los Angeles. What a gorgeous, gorgeous display. But I was told you have 7 to 10 minutes to do all the room details. And so I set up my flashes like this, basically, when I first got in. I put one flash in a balcony up here, but nobody could see. One flash in a balcony over here that no one could see, aimed straight out towards the back wall. And the reason being is I want the light to bounce off of that back wall and everything else and just kind of fill the room with an elegant direction of light. And when I mean direct, I mean I'm not aiming the flashes down to the dance floor, I'm aiming them straight. And so what I'm getting is just kind of that feathered light that hits the dance floor across the room. So let me show you a few more room details. So beyond the grand view, we're able to step down onto the floor and look at the lighting that this is giving us throughout the room. And it allows us to just really have control, capture the details beautifully. Even close-ups of flowers on the table have texture and dimension. So lighting receptions creatively like this really leads to really beautiful imagery. Now, you'll see two X's in this image, and the reason being is after I got the room views done, before guests got in, I wanted my flashes just a little closer to the dance floor, so I moved them to the back balcony up here where no one could see them once again. And I'm running them at about half power, aimed straight out once again. And that allowed me to really capture a lot of creative moments naturally as they unfolded. Now, when we got there, the couple wanted to have a photograph of all the wedding professionals that helped put this tremendous event on. So let me show you this real quick. This is everybody, all the wedding professionals there kind of lined up, except me. I'm up in the balcony aimed down and kind of shooting this. But think about this. The flashes are aimed directly at me here. And still, even though they're aimed this way, it's giving me a beautiful light on everyone's faces and allowing me to capture huge groups creatively as well. Again, the flash is again aimed towards me, but look at this down on the dance floor. They had a choir come out and sing a few songs, and so this was kind of the opening and kickoff to the reception. And then let's jump into showing how we work a reception. My wife's in the balcony. She is photographing with a Lumix GH5. She's got a 35 to 100 2.8, which is equivalent on a full frame to a 70 to 200 2.8. And you can see us kind of work together here. So she's up here firing, and I'm down below just kind of having fun, enjoying myself. And I can work every corner of the room, having fun with this, being unobtrusive. You can see on top of my camera, there's not a flash, but rather there is a Profoto sending unit. So we can both fire these lights from anywhere. And this is just the flash up above, hidden in a corner that nobody can see. And again, what I find that's unique about the Lumix GH5 coupled with the Profoto system is this. On all my DSLRs I've ever owned, the on-camera flash is where the manufacturers would house the focus assist. Well, if I want to put a Profoto sending unit on top and I have to take the flash off, and therefore I'm left without focus assist. On the GH5, what I love about this camera is the focus assist is right here. So I've always got it. So I never miss a moment anymore of couples coming, being announced in and all their friends being announced in, because I've got that focus assist. I've got controlled lighting that's just kind of doing its thing. And it allows me to stay in control of every move throughout the day. And I found when I was working with DSLRs with an on-camera flash, and when I'd pull it off, my lenses would end up hunting, especially in really dark receptions when the lights get low. So this just kind of saves all of that for me. Makes it a little bit easier too. So let me jump through a few more images here just to show you more lighting captured this way. So as you can see here, this is just they're giving a toast and just kind of step back in the center of the room there. Here's another angle. I love that it still looks like it's natural light, but there is direction to it. It's controlled. I'm shooting it probably ISO 400 here, 30th of a second. So it just really works well. But I love this too. I can work the room. I can go way in the back where the cake was and shoot right through the flowers and capture their expressions when they're kind of up on the dance floor. So it allows me to be very creative and work the entire distance of the room as well, and I love that about it. Let's check out their first dance here. Again, lovely. Having off-camera flash allows the smoke in the room there to be picked up as well. And it just reminds me of kind of like Gatsby style lighting, lavish, beautiful lighting, but during a wedding reception, capturing real live moments as they happen. Again, the parent dances here equally as beautiful. I love that we're picking up the lighting on their faces, so pretty. And you know, even moments of walking off the dance floor I find to be elegant and beautiful when I work this way. And I want to mention that you may think, okay, well, those are big power flashes lighting the room. That's got to be bright. In all honesty, it's the opposite of that. What's great about the Profoto system is that they have a very short flash duration, which means capturing action and stopping action works incredibly well with this system. But because of the short flash duration, because we're barely firing at maybe half power, it looks a lot less bright to our couples, to our guests, than having on-camera flash 6 feet away and it having to overwork and overpower things. So it's actually quite the opposite. It's less obtrusive, less of a flash being seen by our couples in the room. So this wedding is going to be fully featured in the Knot, July issue of the Knot coming up, so you can pick that up and see more details. Once that goes live, we'll be sharing more as well on our website and a lot of our favorites along the way. And basically that's it. I don't know if there's anybody in chat that has any questions, but if you do, certainly happy to answer them. It looks like we're good to go. So I appreciate you guys joining me here. Any questions that you have, reach out to me. I'm always open-minded to talk and share ideas and information. We're going to try to go live on a regular basis. It is something that we really want to take control of and have some fun with. And so we're still working on all our topics. I don't think we're going live anytime this week because we're going to be testing the unit on location.